Hey, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Price on Purpose. I am Stacey Pryce. Make sure you click like and click share as you add yourselves to this chat. I am trying to get this video set up and it is not working with me. So if it does work, I'll show it to you. I actually was like, I got this great idea before I started to stream and I was like, yo, that would be totally amazing. And it's not working. And such is technology. Sometimes you just got to roll with the punches. But I hope you guys are well. Let me see. You know what? Let me pull the video up, see if it comes up first. But yeah, a lot's been going on, guys. I'm in this space where I am learning to be great because, you know, when you're, and I was talking about this earlier with a podcast I did with Phil Better. That episode will come out later this year. But, you know, transitions are these things that we go through when we change our identity. Oh my goodness, this thing's like way loud. Yeah, there's different things that happen when we change our identity. We start to think differently. Okay, it's coming up now. So I'll play it in a moment. But different things start to happen when we start to realize our blessings and who we are. Also, if you are listening on Podbean, you could also go on my Facebook page, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, where we're also broadcasting live, so you can actually see and hear the visuals. Actually, I'm gonna plug this out. Let me know if you guys can still hear me, for those of you that are able to chat, because I want other people to hear this that are on Podbean. So I'm gonna actually put my phone right there. So if you guys still hear me, somebody give me a shout out or be like yes or whatever it is. Send me a text if you got my phone number. But there's different things that start to happen when you start to change who you are. And some people be like, well, what's wrong with you? Why you got to change who you are? There's nothing wrong. What changes is the things that we want, the things that we desire. We start to be like, okay, you know what? I used to move this way, but I expect more. And that's what happens. That's when you start to change your identity, or your personality. I really shouldn't say identity per se. I should say personality. So that's what I'm going through in this time frame, and I'm starting to realize my potential. And it's a beautiful place to be in. It could be a little tough. It could be a challenge. But once you start to get into some type of understanding with self, that's when it starts to work a little bit better. I mean, I'm sure the challenges will still be there. I'm sure they will be. But it is a blessing to be in that moment. I think a lot of people are going through that. And that's why I wanted to talk about optimism versus positivity, or optimism and positivity. How are you? Nice to have you here on Twitch. Nalia, is that how it's pronounced? I hope. But yeah, there's different things that start to happen. And that's why I wanted to talk about optimism and positivity. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to have this awesome video here play with my buddy, Gary V. Hopefully this does not break the internet, okay? Hopefully it doesn't break the internet. So let me see, hold on. Let me get this going just to spark some thought. All right. So I've got my buddy here, Gary V. A lot of you guys, hey, what's going on, Celia? Glad you guys are here, and thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So I'm gonna play this video from Gary V, and you guys, we're gonna discuss it, okay?
I think the biggest obstacle to success is a lack of optimism. I think the world lacks optimism. I think, everyone's like, your energy. I've come to realize it's just optimism. Just happy, just positive. That's what it is. Just like whatever chemicals are in my body, they just allow me to see the bright side. And I just don't think I've realized how few people have that. No, very few people have it as black and white, 100-0. I just think everything's good, but it doesn't come naturally in a lot of people. I think that's if I was able to say I'm lucky about something, forget about the business results. It's lucky that optimism comes naturally to me. I'm just optimistic. I just think that so much works for me because I refuse to accept the negative. Like, yeah, and I hate when people say it's an option or it's a choice. I agree with you, Susan. I don't think it comes natural to everybody. I think we are just starting on the early stages of it, of really looking at mental health, the brain, meditation. What I want to do with my attention is allow the 2,000 of you to tens of thousands of you to take it. I want to hand you my optimism, my happiness, my view of the world, my opportunities that I see in the white space, and I want to give it to you for free. And then I want you to win.
All right, so that's what I wanted to show you a little bit, and I'm actually glad that you wrote that. So I'm actually going to put your comment here. So Nalia, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, but that's why I wanted to have this discussion, because I feel like, actually I'll read because there's also people listening on Podbean. So Nalia is joining us from Twitch, so thank you so much for joining. She said, refusing to accept the negative seems a little bit self-destructive though. And I think that's why I decided to do this. That's exactly what I decided, because I used to get people that would say, well, Stacey, it's like 7 a.m. Why are you so happy? Like, what are you so happy about? And the thing is, that's why being positive about everything is not necessarily the healthiest of things, because it can actually lead you potentially into a space where you're not accepting what actually is happening. And that's why I said, let's lean towards optimism. And I love this video by Gary Vee, because it kind of puts it the way I saw it. Because what it is that it's not that you're refusing to accept what has happened. Like, for example, the death of a loved one is probably one of the most craziest things that we can experience as a human that is hard to accept. Loss is hard to accept, but you're going to still feel your emotions. With optimism, you still feel what it is. You still feel like, you know what? I had this loved one and I miss him or I miss her and my heart breaks. That is still the natural emotion that is there. However, to say, I remember these moments that we shared. I remembered when we used to go here, or, they would call me and say, hey, and, whatever the case is, or I wish I had more time, or, things like that. That's the optimistic side, to say, you know what? It was a pleasure knowing so-and-so. It was a pleasure being around so-and-so because they taught me X, or that was the first time I went to a baseball game, or that was the first time that someone said that they cared about me, or whatever the case may be. And that's what optimism is. It's accepting what is, but having a positive outlook. And that's what I embrace. I learned some time ago, because for those of you that may or may not have known me in the past, I used to be very negative. And when I say negative, I'm talking pessimistic. Like, I would literally people would compliment me, be like, you're really great at, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Or they'd be like, you're so kind. I'm like, I guess that's how I feel today. Like, I would always take away from the compliment, because I was operating out of the frequency of self-doubt and always not being enough and being worthless. I was operating out of that frequency because I felt like I deserved that. And I wasn't an optimistic person. Instead of me going into a situation thinking, you know what? Even if it's not the best situation, right? I used to be the person that would be like, you know what? This isn't going to work out, so why should I even try? You know what I mean? That's the frequency I used to operate out of. And then I made that conscious decision to be like, well, how about I try and think differently about this? Like, what if it doesn't work out? Okay. What if it doesn't work out? But what if it does? And that's what optimism is. Nalia writes, let me see. Let me read and I'll paraphrase paraphrase. Okay, so she says, Leibniz and Wolf had an interesting way of thinking about the world. Let me see if this will go up on the screen. About the world of optimism. They threw everything, so everything good or bad that happens to us has a finality, a purpose, and a contrary to what we think, a lot of what we think. They never stated that bad emotions and events should be represented or overlooked. We should just accept it as a way of building and our life experience. That's beautifully said. No worries. I think, let me tell you something. Your English is great because I understand. I totally understand. And thank you for writing that. And that's really what this is about, right? It's not saying that you're not accepting what is. Like, it happened, that's the reality of it. And I think that's very well put. And now I got to look up who these people are because now you're educating me. So thank you for that. It's really about saying, like, it's hope, it's faith. You know what I mean? And to understand, like, yeah, this sucks, but it's going to be okay. Like, there's another side to this. You know what I mean? And I think that's what optimism is. And there are people, just like Gary Vee says, there are few people that have that because we tend to operate out of the frequency of negativity. And it's like, you have to actually ask yourself why. That's what I had to do. I had to ask myself why. Like, why is it that you think this won't work out? Like, what is that? You know what I mean? And I had to ask myself, hold on, I'm trying to multitask as well because I want to show you this book. And I was talking about this book last week, and I'm going to pull up a couple of things. So I was talking about this book last week, and I heard it from this awesome podcast. So some of you guys may know, every Tuesday I do a podcast with Maria Daniels and Sean Dustin, and it's called Spontaneity. And Maria also has a show called Successfully Chaotic. And on her show, she talks to a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, and they share what they're going through and how they get through it as well. And they show, and what I love about talking about somebody that is in this avenue of being a business owner, think about it, like, they go through lots of ups and downs, and I think we all do. And that's the thing, we're more alike than, of course this is not going to come up. All right, let me stop. See, that's not optimistic. But, you know, I started to realize that a lot of us, just like the Maya Angelou quote, we are more alike than we are unalike, because we all go through moments of self-doubt, issues with being optimistic. We go through moments where we're like, can I do this? You know, like, think about our parents or our guardians. Like, the thing is, we looked up to them like, oh my God, you're the best thing ever. Like, whatever you say, I do. And some of us be like, whatever you say, I don't do. Whatever you say, I don't do. You know what I mean? But we had this way, we still, even though if we did or did not do what they asked us, we still looked up to them in some way, shape, or form. Like, oh, you're right, Dad, or you're right, Mom, or you're right, Grandma, or you're right, Uncle so-and-so, you're right, so-and-so. You know what I mean? We all had those moments, right? Because we trusted in them. You know what I mean? But we didn't see the other side, right? We don't realize that a lot of what people do for us, we take it for granted, and we're like, oh, you just know how to do this because you're an adult. We don't even realize the battles that they could be fighting. You know what I mean? Yeah, we are creating a barrier sometimes. You know what I mean? Because I do it where I'm like, maybe this won't work out. Like, for example, so it'll eventually be online, but I'm going to make the announcement now. So I did a podcast with Phil Better. He's the host of the Invest in Yourself podcast, as well as the Phil Better Show. And him and I were talking. This is an episode that's going to come out later. So he's like, yo, Stace, like, because I told him I did stand-up comedy once. And he's like, really? He's like, it's so funny that you say that. I haven't, but I got a guy that has a show where you could do stand-up comedy like every Friday online, and you could just do it. And I was like, okay. He's like, how about this? How about this? And I'm like, oh crap, here we go. He's like, I dare you. He's like, I dare you to do stand-up with me in the future. I was like, okay. And I'm thinking, like, in the future is like, like 6 years from now. We're good. you know? Because I'm like, I told him, I said, I did stand-up comedy once. Actually, I did it twice. So I did stand-up comedy once, and I was like, okay, we good. Like, people applauded, and I was like, I got laughs. I'm an expert. I got to do it again, right? So I did stand-up comedy again, and it was like, the room was like, like one of those, right? Like, I was just like, oh, I suck now. Okay, we're done. We're not doing this again. Okay, we're done. We're not gonna try this again. So I told myself I never did it again because I was just like, it's a lot of work. And, you know, I started giving him all the excuses. Like, think about that. I'm giving him all the excuses. And he's like, yo, I dare you to do stand-up with me. And I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, and I had to realize what my brain was doing. My brain was going to default, or what I used to do, which is tell me all the reasons why you can't. Tell me all the reasons why you can't. I'm not prepared. I don't have any jokes. I didn't do well last time. I'm not an expert. I'm not Kevin Hart. I'm not. And it just kept on going. And he's just like, I just sent him a text. I was like, I hope he doesn't respond. You know what I mean? I'm just like sitting here like, no. But I was like, wait a minute, Stacey, we're working on this, right? We're working on Thinking in Bets. Thinking in Bets. This amazing book by Annie Duke that I heard on this podcast. It's called Successfully Chaotic Podcast. So go check that podcast out. And this awesome dude by the name of Seth Green, he is actually the co-host of the Sharkpreneur podcast that he does with this guy that was one of the original, he was one of the original guys, the original sharks on Shark Tank. And he said how he took out this loan on his house, took a mortgage out on his house to get this guy to help him learn how to sell. And it was a risk, right? It was a risk. And he learned about it from this amazing book called Thinking in Bets. Let me put this book link here. I'm just going to put the link in the chat. I put it in the chat. Right now, yeah, like we all have those moments where we're just like, I can't, I won't, I can't. But then what do we think is going to happen if we do? Damn, I might have to do it again. That's where I'm at. I'm like, if it does work out, then it's gonna work out. But then, like, part of me is like, if I do it again, that means I gotta keep doing this. Like, at the end of the day, you're in control. You're in control, and that's where it's time to embrace optimism. Like, isn't it a great world to live in by knowing your potential? Like, knowing, like, what's so bad about taking the risk? We're all, you know what the funny thing is? We're so, like, in the risk zone. We're just like, okay, you know what the thing is? It's so easy to come out with the reasons why I shouldn't, right? I'm like, there's so many reasons why I shouldn't. I'm scared. I'm terrified. Okay, it won't work out. Like, it's like all those things. And the funny thing is, and I put this on my Facebook page, right? It's a Kobe Bryant quote. Kobe Bryant says, if you think you're gonna fail, you will, right? And that really shows how amazing the human mind is. Because what if you operate out of the frequency? Awesome. It's a great read, Nalia. Like, it's a great read. And let me know how you feel about it when you do it. It's amazing. So it's like, what's gonna happen if you do? You know what I mean? Like, you ever think about what's going to happen if you do? Like, a lot of us get into that moment where, like, I'm going to start a business. I got this great idea, right? I got this great idea, but we don't do it. We don't do it. Exactly. She's a poker player, and that's how she wrote this book. That's the crazy thing. You're like, what? She's actually she's won multiple competitions in poker, like a really good poker player. And that's what she realized, how to think in bets. Like, you're placing bets. Get it? Thinking in bets. All right. So Yeah, but you also got to check out the podcast with Maria Daniels on Successfully Chaotic, because it's the way he flowed the conversation and how he designed selling. Because the thing is about selling, it's not really selling. It's you're not supposed to sell. Like, if that makes any sense. So if you know marketing and you're in business, you probably like, yeah, that's right. And that's what you just provide value, right? But it took me a while to even embrace that. But then I didn't even realize I was already doing that, because for those of you that may or may not know, I spent over 17 years in customer care. And I realized that when I needed to help someone, or I needed to communicate with someone that was very angry, the only thing that worked was being optimistic. That's the only thing that worked, because it's energy. That's what I realized. It's energy. And the energy is, I could be like, well, Mrs. Jones, there's nothing we could do. What? You think somebody wants to hear that from a company? You think somebody, go call a company and let somebody tell you, like, your phone doesn't work? You've lost service? Damn, Mrs. Jones, there's nothing we can do about it. Can you imagine? You'd be like, cut off my service. Right? But that's the thing. It's like, you know, and while you're here, guys, like, please click like and click share on this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. Or wherever you are watching, share this video, because my goal is to reach as many people and to share this vision of positivity and optimism and acceptance, right? To help you get to your next level, because we got levels, right? Sometimes we forget that we got levels. Like, we're like, yo, I'm 92. I ain't got nothing else going on. Look, you could be 92 and open a business, okay? I showed you guys that video with, oh my God, what is his name? I know his last name is Nelson, but he's in his 90s, guys. He started his business in his 50s. He's a CEO, 90 in his 90s. Sharp as a tack, okay? That's the thing. You know, how many of you guys watched that movie, 40-Year-Old Virgin? Like, do you remember that? Do you remember that scene when, what's his name? Oh my God, what is his name? But anyway, so the main character, he's just like in the meeting, and he's a virgin, and he's just like, raises his hand. He's like, yo, is it true that Steve Carell? Yeah, his character. He's like, is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it? Right? It was a hilarious part, but in a sense, that is true. Think about it. We all have unique brains, right? All of us, all gazillion of us have unique minds, very unique. And if we operate out of the frequency of not being optimistic, we're never going to take the first step. We're never going to move forward. We're just going to sit and think about it. Like my buddy, Rich Roll, he doesn't know me yet, but Rich Roll says that in his podcast. He's like, this analysis paralysis state, right? Where we're just stuck in inaction. I still have those moments where I'm like, I have these great ideas. Like, literally, if you could see the other side of this wall, there's Post-it notes everywhere, like filled with ideas and things like that. Oh, thank you so much, Nalia, for being here. I appreciate you. I do these talks every Wednesday at 4:55 p.m. So bring a friend. I appreciate you for being here. And thank you for adding what you did. You added value, and I appreciate that. But yeah, so like, you know, a lot of us come up with these ideas like, oh man, I could sell this, I could do this, I could do that, but we don't take the first step because we don't know what's going to happen. The human mind will go, that's a dark cave. Like, think about it. It's like from back in the day when we used to be like hunters and gatherers and things like that. We're just like, I don't know what's in there. I'm not going in there. Are you going in there, Jefferson? I'm not going in there. Are you going in the cave? I'm not going in the cave, but we need shelter. I'm not going first. You know what I mean? Like, think about it, right? It's like, what does the seed do? I don't know. Let's eat it. Oh, Joe died. You know what I mean? Like, we're just like, that's like where we're at, right? That's where we're at, you know? And sometimes we're just like, well, Mark's tried to open a business, and you see what happened to him. He lost everything. He lost the house. He lost this. Yes, that is a possibility. But the thing is, with some optimism and with some networking, that's the thing. If you're optimistic, you'll find a way. You'll find a way. It's having faith, finding a way. That's the thing. Stop speaking to yourself like you can't, and start speaking to yourself like you can and you will and you should. That's the thing. That's the difference between just like positivity, just like, yo, it's gonna work out, right? Like optimism is understanding that there is a risk, right? Optimism is understanding that there is a risk. There's a possibility it may not. However, I'm not going to focus a lot of my energy on the won't and the can't and the won't and the can't. I'm going to stay in the yes, let's find a way, right? So like, even for me, I'm just like, okay, like, let me just like try and like do this motivational speaking thing. And I'm just like, okay, but what if nobody watches it? What if people say you suck? What if? And I started to be like, what if you do this and you get better every day? What's going to happen? Like, are you going to just pass out like live on TV? Like, I was just like, like what? So I had to like change my mindset. That's the thing with a lot of things. Like whether we work a 9 to 5, we've got kids that won't listen or whatever it is. This is the thing. When you start to get into a more optimistic mindset, your arguments and disagreements start to shrink. If you're that person that wakes up every day and you're just mad and it's because of something that happened, it's not the something that happened that got you upset per se. It may be a trigger, but the only reason why it's able to control you is because you're operating out of that frequency. And in a sense, you're attracting that to you. See, that's the thing. We don't take a lot of responsibility for the way that we operate. We don't take a lot of responsibility to the way that we see the world. Like I remember, like, I used to ask people this question. I used to be like, yo, what do you think about humanity? Like, you think we're doomed, right? Some people be like, yeah, we're doomed. You know, we got cell phones. Nobody's talking to each other. I don't know who I'm acting like. That's just how people are. Anyway, so like, they're like, nobody's talking, all this texting. Like, the world is doomed. We're doomed. I'm like, okay, I understand. The internet is a horrible place. like some people feel like that. And I get it. I register what you're saying. And yes, I understand. But what if the internet is a place to connect us? What if the internet is a place to share information? What if the internet is a place where I can not even leave my chair and I could talk to somebody in Australia that's on the other side of the planet and be like, hey, how are you? How are you doing? What if the internet is a place where I'm going through a tough time and I'm like, I need somebody to speak with, and somebody's like, I'm a good listener. My friends say I'm a good listener. It'll be my pleasure to listen to you. What's going on? What if the internet is that place? That's where the mindset comes in, right? Because yes, it could be this place where it's horrible and there's predators, all the predators, right? Like you could have that, or you could have oh my God, this is the first time in human history that all of us are doing a similar thing, which is connecting us all to each other. Like, I know what's going on. Like, I could tell if somebody's lying to me or not because, somebody's like, oh, this is what's going on in this nation. Please send help. You know what I mean? Like, what if it's that place? And that's the vision of being optimistic. Seeing the other side, seeing the hope, seeing the faith. And that's the challenge for this week, guys. Practice optimism. It's a practice. It's not all right, so let me look at my calendar. All right, so today is the 21st. Okay, so on the 26th, I'm going to work on being optimistic. Okay, on the 26th at like 7 o'clock, we're going to be, no, this is not a diet. Okay, this is a lifestyle change. Lifestyle change. Okay, it starts with you and it starts when you're ready. And it's a practice, right? Some people feel like meditation doesn't work for me. Okay, fair enough. But how long did you continue? Like, how long did you meditate for? About like 5 minutes. I did like an hour a day for a week. It ain't for me. What if the way that you were meditating wasn't the way that works for you? oh, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. That's what optimism is. It's seeing the can versus the can't. So the challenge for this week is to practice optimism. Practice it. You deserve it. Practice optimism instead of saying, you know what? I can't reach it. Find a way. Let me tell you, quick story before I end. I was in the grocery store, right? And I'm working on drinking more spring water, like Evian. And I tried this water, Icelandic glacial. I don't know what this is, but I picked it up, right? I just want to try different waters. I just want to try it. So Fiji water I've had before, and it was on the top shelf, right? It was on the top shelf in the grocery store. And I'm like, I can't reach it. I can't reach it. There's no way. I'm short. Like, I'm like 5'2", 5'3", okay? But these shelves in these grocery stores, I'm like, it's not made for me. Like, I can't reach it, right? So I couldn't reach it. And you know who walks down the aisle? The world's tallest man. To me, right? So this guy walks down, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, it's so funny because I'm like looking at his height. I'm like, okay, let's look at his reach. Like I'm trying this guy out for a basketball team, right? I'm like, yeah, he's got reach. Like, I think he could do it, right? So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, but he's a stranger. Like, how do I know he's going to help me, right? So I think about this book, right? I think about this book over here. I'm like thinking about, I'm like, well, Stacey, it is a risk. He could say, screw you. I got to go home to my kids. I can't help you. I was like, but what is the probability that he's going to, what's the probability? So I say to myself, I'm like, just ask him. Just ask. Just ask him if he could get it for you. Just ask. What's the worst? He could say, you know what? Due to COVID, I'm not reaching for bottles. Like, he could say that, right? But I'm like, Stacey, focus on the possibility that he will. So as he's walking, I'm like, okay. Because I'm like low-key shy. So I'm just like, I get antsy, right? I start shaking. I'm like, excuse me, sir. Right? I'm like, he's like, yes. And I'm like, do you have a moment to just help me out with a huge favor? And he's like, yeah, sure. What's up? I'm like, could you get that water bottle for me? And he's like, it'll be my pleasure. He's like, he had an accent. I was like, I wanted to be like, yo, where you from, man? But he was like, it'll be my, he's like, yo, no problem. He's like, that's why I'm tall. That's why I'm tall. I'm like, thank you so much. Like, I appreciate your height. Like, I appreciate you. And that's the thing with optimism. Sometimes we think things are out of our reach, but we have to ask and act in that frequency to receive. And that's the thing. That's what we're ending with today. Be a little bit more optimistic. You deserve it. There's no reason why you should be speaking doubt in your life when you could speak abundance, right? Take the time to practice it. It's a practice. This is not I'm going to try it for 6 minutes and it's not working. I knew it wouldn't work because see, now we're not being optimistic. Why not be like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going because let me tell you, it worked for me. It worked for me. I said to myself, I said, Stacey, listen to something inspirational. Listen to something positive every day. Every day. Do that. Every day. Every day. And I've been doing that. I've listened to so many videos from Eric Thomas, Simon Sinek, Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, the new one I'm listening to, Joel Osteen, right? Listen to something positive. Listen to something that makes you feel good, right? Because I'm running over a little bit, but just one more thing. A lot of us don't even realize that it could be the people we're around, the shows we watch, the news, the radio. There's so many things that we're around that take us out of that optimistic mindset that comes maybe a little natural or a little, a little harder for some. But sometimes we don't even consciously realize what's attaching to us because we're putting that out. Like, it's that thing. So if I give you anything to do this week, guys, first and foremost, please click like and click share on this video. I appreciate you guys clicking like, but please click share. So thank you, Celia. Thank you, Jeff, for clicking like. I appreciate you guys. But this week, watch yourself. Watch yourself. Catch yourself. You know what I mean? Let's say you're talking to your kid. You're like, you always do this. Whoa, pull it back. So-and-so, please pick your toys up off the floor, because what I'm trying to do is teach you what you deserve and teach you that you need to be treated as a king or queen in your environment. And that's why I'm trying to share with you that this is a standard. This is a standard. You know, sometimes we talk to our partners a little greasy. Why are you always leaving? No. Can you do me a favor and pick your socks up off the floor? Thank you so much. Can you help me out? I need some help. That's a little optimistic approach versus, you know what I mean? Because the initial feeling is to share what we're feeling, but sometimes it doesn't need to get out. Like, acknowledge. There's a difference. Acknowledge there's some anger. Hey, you know what? I realize I get frustrated when you leave the lights on, because I'm thinking about, like, I work hard and I don't want to spend any more money on these lights. Can you turn them off when you leave the room? You know what I mean? Please. You know, be a little nicer. Be a little more optimistic in your day. Guys, thank you so much for listening to Price on Purpose. Once again, my name is Stacey Pryce. I do this every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, guys. Every Wednesday. This is like a heartbeat for me, okay? Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys. Please click like and click share on this video. It helps me to reach more people, and it helps me to keep practicing, because this is what I'm doing, y'all. I'm practicing. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Go out, be great. I was going to say something, but that ain't that kind of show. Go out, be great, be the change that you want to see. And like I said, just share this video. You never know who you may be helping. Have a great week, guys. I'll talk to you soon.